Good morning. So today I'm dressed up as my favorite animal, a giraffe. Today we're going to be focusing on refining our skills of what we've learned so far about rigid transformations and sequences of rigid transformations. And we're going to do that by starting on lesson 3, session 4, which begins on page 61. So for our first example, we have this figure N that has these vertices here, where our original figure is, and we want to get to figure N triple prime. So we're going to figure out what 3 transformations we could do to get to this N triple prime. So we're going to start by reflecting across the y-axis. So that will give us this figure here, this N prime. Then we are going to rotate 90 degrees clockwise, which will give us this N double prime figure here. And then we're going to end it by translating over to the right until we meet our N triple prime. So again, that sequence is we start by reflecting over the y-axis. Then we rotate 90 degrees clockwise, followed by a translation of 3 units to the right. So that's the sequences of transformations we had to do to go from N to N triple prime right here. Next we have our apply it, so that's the bottom of page 61, and so we have this figure W here, and it's congruent to W double prime down here, and we have to figure out what sequence of transformations can we use to show this. So we're going to start by rotating it 90 degrees counterclockwise. So that's the same as 270 degrees clockwise, so 270, and that will give us in this quadrant right here, around here. And then we are going to translate the image 5 to the right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And it will land on top of this W double prime. So again, we started with a rotation of 90 degrees counterclockwise. Then translate 5 units right. And that's how we go from W to W double prime right here. Now we have question 2 on page 62. So we have our triangle, which is located at the points negative 4, 4, negative 2, 3, and negative 5, 2. So we go to negative 4, 4 for our P, negative 2, 3 for our Q, and negative 5, 2 for our R. So again, it's P, Q, R. And we connect those to make our triangle. Next, it is asking us to reflect across the x-axis. So that's this right here. Remember that all these points are equal distance from that line of reflection. So here's our R prime, our P prime, and our Q prime. We connect them to make this triangle. So that's after one transformation. Now we need to take this triangle and rotate it 180 degrees around the origin. And remember, when you do that, you're just making your coordinates their opposites. So the opposite of your x and your opposite of your y. So R prime is at negative 5, negative 2. So now it's at positive 5, positive 2 for your R triple prime. Your P was at negative 4, negative 4. So now we're at positive 4, positive 4 for your P double prime. And then your Q was at negative 2, negative 3. So now we're at positive 2, positive 3 for your Q triple prime. Or double prime, sorry. And then we connect our dots here. So again, So that means our coordinates, so our P double prime is located at 4, 4. Q double prime is located at 2, 3. And your R double prime is located at 5, 2. Just like the drawing shows below or above. Next, we're on to question 3. So it says, which graph shows the image of the triangle after a translation of 6 units to the left, followed by a reflection across the y-axis? So we're going to start by moving this 6 to the left. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then we're going to reflect across the y-axis. So remember, that's the one that goes this way. So remember, it's 2 away there. So then it's 2 away here. So you want to look for the one that looks like this, which is C in your book. Now it says that Kamal chose A as the correct answer. And how might he have gotten that answer? And we will say that Kamal may have done the translation after the reflection instead of before. So he switched up the order of the transformations, which is why his ended up looking like A instead of C. Next we have question 4, so this is on page 63. So we have this figure here that we need to reflect across the y-axis. So that's this one that goes up and down. So we're going to flip it. So now it is reflected over here. And now we need to rotate it 180 degrees around the origin. So we rotate it 180 degrees, which will cause it to move 2 quadrants. So 1, 2, right here. Now they're asking, what single transformation could you perform on the figure to get the same final image? And that is, what is this compared to this? A reflection across the x-axis. Remember, the y is up and down, the x is left to right. So this is the same as a reflection over the x-axis. Next we have question 5. And so we want to rotate this triangle 180 degrees around the origin. So we're going to do that. Which will move it to over here. And we can see that that will not align on triangle DEF, so that is not a sequence of transformations that will work. So now we go back over and try for B. So for B, it says we want to reflect over the x-axis, so like so. So we're going to reflect so that it ends up right around here. And then rotate 90 degrees counterclockwise. And it does end up on triangle DEF, like so. So B is a correct answer. Next, we want to start by rotating our triangle 90 degrees clockwise. So again, I'm going to put this back to how it normally is. So here we are. We want to rotate 90 degrees clockwise. So we'll go this way. And that will move it to right here. And then we want to reflect over the x-axis, which will get our figure to right here, which means that C is also a sequence of transformations that will map ABC onto DEF. Next we have D and E, So D asks us to rotate this 90 degrees counterclockwise. So remember that's the same as 270, which moves it to right here. And then it's asking us to rotate it 90 degrees counterclockwise. Which would move it to here. So that does not work. And now we have E. So we're going to go ahead and bring that back to how we started. Almost. And we're going to reflect across the y-axis, so that looks like this. So we reflect, that it's over here. And then we're going to rotate it 90 degrees clockwise. So remember that we'll move it one quadrant, which will make it actually end up right here. So E is indeed one that will work. So for question 5, our correct answers are B, C, and E. Next we have question 6. So we have this G and G double prime, and we need to figure out which of these sequence of transformations can we perform on G to get to G double prime. So if we start with A, it's asking us to reflect over the x-axis. So that is like this one here. Get it. Then we are going to translate it 3 units up. So 1, 2, 3, and then 6 to the left. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That does not land on G double prime, so that cannot be our answer. Now we're going to try B. So we're going to bring this back to where we started. Now we're going to reflect across the x-axis. So again, that's this way. That's going to be right here. And then we are going to translate it 6 units up and 5 to the right. So we can start by going 6 to the left. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then 5 up. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that should land on top of it. So that means B is correct. So that means that B must be our answer. For number 7, we have triangle XYZ, which is in this quadrant 1. We're asked to rotate it 90 degrees counterclockwise. So again, we're going to rotate it 90 degrees counterclockwise. So that's that 270, which moves it to this quadrant here. Then it needs to be reflected across the y-axis. So that's this one here. So that it will be reflected over. So now it's in this quadrant. And then we need to move it 5 to the right. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it's still in quadrant 1. So our answer number 7 is going to be quadrant 1. Next we have question 8. So we have our figure R and figure R triple prime, and we need to figure out what 3 transformations we can do to go from R to R triple prime. So we're going to start by rotating it 90 degrees clockwise. So I'll put it in this quadrant around here. Then we are going to translate it 8 to the right. 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8. And then we are going to translate it 7 units down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Which will land our R onto our R triple prime. So our sequence of transformations for this one is we started with a 90 degree clockwise rotation, followed by a translation of 8 to the right, followed by a translation of 7 units down. And that's how we went from R to R triple prime. Reminder that this PowerPoint is available to you, so you can edit it yourself and you can practice with it, or you can do one of those games that I put on Google Classroom underneath the classwork or the stream tab. So if you want additional practice, you can do this and move it around that way. You can rotate, reflect, things like that. Just make sure when you're practicing this way that when you rotate, you remember that you need to move it to a different quadrant, and same as when you reflect, you need to move it to the other quadrant that it should be. So if you reflect over the Y, it's going to be moved to this quadrant here from there. So again, that's how you do those 8 problems. Your homework is going to be that last problem on page 64 that we did not go over. So that's question 9, which asks you to describe 2 ways we can use transformations to show that triangle S is congruent to triangle T. So go ahead and write down a list of sequences of transformations that will move S onto triangle T. That's going to be due tomorrow, Wednesday, October 28th at 9 a.m. If you have any questions, please let me know. But other than that, have a great day.